everyone. Sarah here. Welcome back. Well, today we're gonna study some expressions through the story of Jamie Oliver. Jamie Oliver? Oh, you mean the chef? Yes, we're gonna meet him through this reading passage. But some people might not know who he is. Well, he's a naked chef. But, don't take it literally. He's not naked. He's not naked. 옷을 벗고 다닌다는 뜻이 아니라요. Naked은 다른 뜻을 가지고 있습니다. So what does naked mean in this specific reading passage? I think you'll get to know it. Well, today's focus is 오늘의 초점은 뭐냐면요. Modifiers of countable and uncountable nouns. 영어에서는요, countable nouns and uncountable nouns, these are very, very important. Well, it's not that, important in Korean, right? 한국어에서는 그렇게 중요하지 않지만 일단 어떤 폼을 가져야 되는가. 예를 들어서 셀 수 없는 명사 같은 경우는요. You put like desk, no. Water, let's say. Water and the water. Okay, usually, normally, if it's not a specific water that you're talking about, 어떤 특정한 물을 얘기하지 않는 한 여러분 그냥 water이라고 얘기합니다. But if you want to talk about some water, specific water, 그거를 얘기하기 위해서는 the water, 그러니까 어떤 특정한 water를 얘기하기 위해서는 the water라고 얘기를 하는 경우. 이 두 가지밖에 없어요. So if it's an uncountable noun, uncountable water and the water. If it's countable, well, there are 4 forms that this noun can take, which is 어떤 명사를 예를 들까요? An apple, the apple, apples, the apples. Okay, so this noun can take these 4 forms. Okay. In other words, you cannot say apple in a sentence. It's wrong. So you cannot say apple is delicious. No, you should say an apple is delicious or the apple is delicious if you want to mean a specific apple. Okay? So there are 4 forms that this countable nouns can take, and there are only 2 forms that uncountable nouns can take. Okay, the differences between countable nouns and uncountable nouns are not these are not the only thing, right? 이것만이 유일한 것이 아니라 여러분 또 기억해야 되는 것은 there's like a expressions of quantity, quantity를 나타내는 expressions 표현들이 있어요. I think you might already know these, right? A few and few, little, a little, much, and many. And 이런 표현들은 뭐 어떤 것들은 countable noun, 어떤 것들은 uncountable noun 이렇게 그 수식을 하게 되는데요. 이런 것들이 좀 약간 까다로워요, 진짜. 그죠? 근데요, 한국말이 더 까다로워요. 근데 영어에서 까다로운 건 몇 개밖에 안 되니까요. 한국말을 네이티브로 하고 영어를 오히려 외국어로 배우는 게 I think I'm very lucky. 그게 정말 더 운이 좋은 것 같아요. 왜냐면 한국어는 형용사 표현들 이거 말고도 되게 뭐 거무스름, 거무접접, 거무티티 여러 가지가 있잖아요. 그죠? So if you actually don't feel the differences and nuance, well, you cannot use them properly. So I think I'm very lucky, being a Korean. 한국 사람에게 오히려 더 다행인 것 같아요. 몇 가지만 외워주면 되거든요, 영어에서는요. And I think most of you already know these differences. 중요한 것은 머릿속으로 알고 있는 거를 이제 실질적으로 얘기할 수 있고, 바로바로 이제 그 틀린 거, 맞는 거 이런 식으로 고칠 수 있는 그런 느낌이 와야 되는 거죠. 머릿속에 있는 grammar는 더 이상 grammar가 아닙니다. Practically, what you can actually use in your daily conversation, that is real grammar. And you might have a grammar power if you get accustomed to those, grammatical rules, and if you can use them and practice. Wow, that would be really great. Oh, wow. Okay. So, why don't you test your grammar yourself? Test your grammar는 여러분이 한번 쭉 풀어보시고요. 오늘은요, without too much ado, 너무 앞부분을 좀 길게 할 것 없이 바로 제이미 올리버의 이야기로 들어가 보도록 하겠습니다. Let's read together. If you open your book and look at page 50, there's Jamie Oliver, the passage about him. Jamie Oliver에 대한 그 글이 쭉 나와 있는데요. 자, 이 글을 여러분 expressions of quantity, 그러니까 수치를 표현하는 표현에 중점을 두시고 읽어보시는데요. 읽은 다음에 number 1, 2 위에 있는 문제들을 쫙 같이 풀어볼게요. Why don't we read it together? At only 28, Jamie Oliver is now an extremely successful and well-known chef with his own acclaimed restaurant in the center of London. He has made 5 TV series, written several books, and still does around 20 live shows a year. He doesn't have much free time anymore. How did he make it big? Well, his rise to fame and fortune came early and swiftly. By the age of 8, he had already started cooking at his parents' pub. It was an easy way to earn a bit of pocket money. After 2 years in cooking school and some time spent in France, he started working in restaurants. He worked under 3 famous chefs in London before he was spotted by a TV producer at 21, and his life changed. Even though he had very little experience, he had a great deal of enthusiasm for cooking and was very natural in front of the camera. His first TV program featured him zipping around London on his scooter, buying ingredients and cooking for his friends, all to a rock and roll soundtrack. The recipes were bare and simple. They didn't involve complicated cooking techniques and used plenty of fresh ingredients and herbs. That's why he's known as the Naked Chef. The program attracted a completely new audience that previously had no interest in cooking shows. Jamie Oliver became an overnight success. So, what's his recipe for success? A little bit of luck, a little bit of passion, and a little bit of knowledge, he says. Well, what kinds of expressions of quantity did you hear through his story? Well, a great deal of, or, a lot of, and very little and stuff like that was shown in his passage, in the passage about him. Okay, and did you get the answer for question number 1? Well, if you look at question number 1, Jamie Oliver is a famous British chef. That's right. And read the article. Why is it called the Naked Chef? Well, we got the answer from this passage. Well, actually it says if you look at the third paragraph, even though he has very little experience, blah, blah, blah. If you look at line number 5, okay, 5번째 줄이요. 3번째 paragraph에서 보시면 the recipe were bare and simple. What does that mean? bare이 무슨 뜻이죠? bare는 barefoot 하면은 아무것도 안 신고 있는 맨발이잖아요. bare. So, not complicated. 복잡하지 않고 very easy. Anybody can follow, right? So, it's not like a secret recipe, but it's kind of open to everybody, right? It's bare, right? So, it's, undisguised. 꾸며지지 않고 unconcealed, 숨겨지지 않은 그런 레시피죠. 그래서 it's easy. Everybody can follow. It's kind of open recipe. So bare and simple. And they didn't involve complicated cooking techniques. 복잡한 거 이런 거 없고. 그 다음에 use plenty of fresh vegetables, fresh ingredients. 아주 신선한 재료들을 사용했다고 했어요. And herbs. 허브 같은 것도 많이 사용하고요. So, what is the answer for number 1? Well, because his recipe was bare and simple. 아주 간단하고 누구나 따라할 수 있는 아주 복잡하지 않은 그런 레시피였기 때문에 without complicated cooking techniques. You know, when it comes to Korean dishes, 한국 음식은요, 너무 만들기 힘들어요. It's kind of very difficult. 언어나 좀 마찬가지로요. Well, 어떤 거는 we can, stir fry, 어떤 건 볶는 거, 어떤 건 끓이는 거, 어떤 건 삶는 거, 어떤 건 데치는 거. All these, techniques are different, right? So it's kind of very difficult. 어떤 건요, 그냥 삭히는 것도 있고요. For 곰국, we actually boil this for like, how many hours? 2 days? 1 day? Oh my God, I don't know how to do that, right? How Korean people do that. I'm Korean, but it's kind of complicating. Well, actually, but when it comes to Western recipe, 뭐 다 그런 건 아니지만 서양 그 요리법은요, 그냥 찹찹찹, cut, and mix, put in the oven. 끝이에요. 되게 simple, 아주 간단해요. 그냥 섞어가지고 오븐에 넣으면 끝. Okay? So, Oliver가 이제 그런 그 레시피를 사람들에게 제공을 해주니까 he is called the naked chef, right? So, 진짜 뭐 naked로 다녀서가 아니라 naked가 birthday suit이라는 거 아시죠, 여러분? 여러분 태어났을 때 입고 나온 옷이요. Your birthday suit. 예, 아무것도 안 입은 거죠. 가죽옷. So, 가죽옷만 입고 다니는 것이 아니라 actually what it means is because his recipe was bare and simple, he is called naked chef. Okay? Now you understand what naked chef is, right? Oh, sorry to disappoint you. 네. And number 2, answer the questions. Number 1, how many TV series has he made? Well, if you look at the first paragraph and line number 4, 네 번째 줄 보면요, he has made 5 TV series. 이렇게 나와 있죠? So the answer is 5, right? And number 2, how many books has he written? Well, if you continue reading that part, written several books, right? Several can mean like, 7 or 8, somewhere. It's kind of a vague number. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhere around that. That is several. Several books. And number 3, several is the answer for number 2. And number 3, how many live shows does he do a year? So in a year, how many live shows does he do? Why don't we continue reading that part? And still does around 20 live shows a year, right? So the answer is exact number, 20, right? And why don't we go to number 4? How much did he earn cooking? How much did he earn cooking at his parents' pub? Okay, so what's the answer? How much did he earn cooking at his parents' pub? Earn, what does earn mean? Make money, right? So his parents actually ran a pub. What does pub mean? It can be a tavern or bar, 뭐 바나 선술집 이런 것들을 pub이라고 얘기하죠. 자, 근데 얼마 벌었다고 그랬어요? What he expresses in the second paragraph, 두 번째 paragraph 보시면요. Well, his rise to fame and fortune, blah, 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 이렇게 나오면서요. 두 번째 줄에 parents pub이 나옵니다. 자, 그리고 it was an easy way to earn a bit of pocket money. A bit of. Okay, 약간. 조금이요. 그죠? So, a bit of pocket money. So, number 4, the answer for number 4 is a bit of pocket money. 용돈 조금 벌 수가 있었어요. 라는 그런 표현이 되겠고요. And why don't we go to the next one, which is number 5. How long did he spend in cooking school? Okay, he went to cooking school, right? cooking school에 갔다고 했는데요. 얼마나 cooking school에서 보냈습니까? 그 다음에 쭉 pocket money 다음에 읽어보면 after 2 years in cooking school, so he spent 2 years in cooking school. What did he do in the cooking school? cooking school에서 뭐 했을까요? Well, of course, he learned lots of recipes. 레시피를 배웠겠죠, 요리법들. So he spent 2 years there. And number 6, how much time did he spend in France? Well, he just mentioned vaguely, not definite answer. 여기에 대한 정확한 answer보다는요, some time spent in France. He spent some time. 어느 정도, 약간의 시간을 프랑스에서 보냈습니다. So some time, right? We don't know whether it was like a month or 2 or, 3 weeks. We don't know. But anyway, we can only guess, right? Some time. 약간의 시간을 보냈다. 자, and number 7. How many chefs did he work under in London? So, he worked in London, right? So, after spending, some time in France, what he did is he went to London. And what did he do in London? Well, in London, he worked under 3 chefs, right? And they were not just, regular chefs. They were famous, very popular chefs, right? Everybody wants to work with. So he worked under 3 famous chefs. So the answer here is 3. 셋이요, 셋. Okay? And number 8, how much experience did he have when he was first on TV? When he was on TV, he, had little experience. 거의 경험이 없었어요. Very little experience. Little 자체가 부정적인 거잖아요. 근데 very little, 그러니까 거의 경험이 없었어요. 그죠? So, he was kind of a novice. 아주 초보자 그 단계의 그 셰프였습니다. Okay, and number 9. How many fresh ingredients and herbs did he use? Well, fresh ingredients. 요리는요, 재료입니다. 양념 맛이 아니라 신선한 재료가 많이 들어가야지 맛이 있는 거예요, right? 그리고 특히 제가 영국 요리에 대해서 들어봤는데요. Well, they do not use that much spice. Spice 많이 사용 안 한대요. So, if it's too salty, if it's too sweet, they think, we are losing the tastes. 우리가 입맛을 맛의 감각을 잃어버리니까 진짜 당근은 당근 맛이 나야 되고, well, carrot should taste like carrot, right? A cucumber should taste like cucumber, right? But, sometimes cucumber tastes like salt. Well, don't you agree with it? 그래서 영국은요, 요리가 많이 발달 안 됐대요. 진짜 그 자연 그대로의 fresh ingredients의 맛을 진짜 느끼게 하기 위해서 sauce나 이런 것들 많이 안 쓴다고 합니다. Okay, this is what I heard from a person who studied in England. Okay, anyway, so how many fresh ingredients and herbs did he use? Well, fresh ingredients and herbs, that is in the second paragraph. That is in the third paragraph에 있군요. 자, 밑에서 네 번째 줄 보면 plenty of라는 표현을 썼네요. So, and used plenty of fresh ingredients and herbs. So, plenty of is the answer here. Plenty. Number 10, how much interest in cooking shows did his audience previously have? Well, they didn't have any interest in cooking shows, right? So actually, he succeeded in drawing attention from the people who actually were not interested in, cooking shows whatsoever, right? So cooking show나 이런 데 관심 없었던 사람, who showed no interest, zero. I'm not interested. I'm not watching those, TV shows related to cooking. 뭐 이랬던 사람들도 우리 제이미 올리버를 좋아하게 된 거예요, right? So he drew attention from people who were not interested in cooking, right? Cooking shows and whatsoever. So no interest. Previously, they have no interest in cooking shows, right? 자. 이게 이제 정말 성공인 거죠. 원래 관심 있었던 사람을 옮기는 것이 아니라 새로운 어떤 그 수요나 그 demand를 창출해내는 거잖아요. Okay. And now it's time for us to listen to this part and same content but expressions of quantity different. Okay? So let's go to grammar spot on page 51. Page 51의 grammar spot 가보시면요. 거기에 1 and 2 expressions of quantity가 쭉 나와 있습니다. 내용은 똑같아요. Same contents, same idea flows, but the only things that are different, 가장 다른 유일한 것들은 뭐냐면요. quantity expressions. Okay, quantity expressions가 좀 다릅니다. So quantity expression 어떻게 다른지 reading이랑 비교해 보면서 listening 한번 들어보실까요? 자, 들어보시면서 한번 표를 listening text 부분에 채워보세요.
At only 28, Jamie Oliver is now an extremely successful and well-known chef, with his own acclaimed restaurant in the center of London. He has made quite a few TV series, written 4 books, and still does a large number of live shows a year. He doesn't have many free days anymore. How did he make it big? Well, his rise to fame and fortune came early and swiftly. By the age of 8, he had already started cooking at his parents' pub. It was an easy way to earn a little pocket money. After a couple of years in cooking school and a little time spent in France, he started working in restaurants. He worked under a few famous chefs in London before he was spotted by a TV producer at 21, and his life changed. Even though he had hardly any experience, he had a lot of enthusiasm for cooking and was very natural in front of the camera. His first TV program featured him zipping around London on his scooter, buying ingredients and cooking for his friends, all to a rock and roll soundtrack. The recipes were bare and simple. They didn't involve complicated cooking techniques and used lots of fresh ingredients and herbs. That's why he's known as the Naked Chef. The program attracted a completely new audience that previously didn't have any interest in cooking shows. Jamie Oliver became an overnight success. So what's his recipe for success? A little bit of luck, a little bit of passion, and a little bit of knowledge, he says.
I guess you understood pretty much what you heard, because this is pretty much like what we've read, right? But when it comes to quantity expressions, I don't know why I keep saying time expressions, but it's quantity expressions, right? Quantity expressions, what you've heard is a little different from what you've read, okay? So why don't we compare and contrast those expressions by filling up these charts, okay? So why don't you fill out these charts? First part, okay, in the reading section you've read, he actually made 5 TV series, right? 5 TV series. Okay, 5, well, it depends on the speaker. 그러니까 5라고 하는 것이요. 뭐 많다라고 얘기할 수도 있고 적다라고 얘기할 수도 있고, 그건 굉장히 주관적인 건데요. 이거를 약간 vague하게 표현하자면 you can say like quite a few, right? A few는 한 2, 3개, 몇 개죠. 그죠? 근데 quite a few means many, right? So, well, 5 TV series? 많은 거죠. 그죠? 어떤 사람은 뭐 하나의 TV series 만들기도 힘든데 he made like 5. So, compared to the number of TV series that we can make, well, 5 is a lot. So that's why in the listening text you've heard quite a few. Quite a few. So let me write it here. Quite a few. Okay, this means many, many TV series. Okay, repeat after me. Quite a few. Quite a few TV series. Okay, good. Good, good, good. And in the listening text, listening에서 여러분이 들으신 것은 $4. Okay, $4. But we already solved this question. 이거와 연관된 question 풀었죠. How many books have you written so far? Well, he's written several books. Several. several도 굉장히 좀 분명한 숫자가 아니잖아요. Several. It can be like, 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, right? 서너 너덧 개. 뭐 아주 정확한 그런 표현이 아닙니다. It's kind of vague, right? Several books. So, he's written 4 books. This is the exact number, but, in other words, 다른 말로 바꾸면 you can say like, several books. So, he's written several books. You can say that. And he's written how many books? 4 books to be exact. And 세 번째 그 블로그 가보면요. Live shows. Live shows는 몇 개 만들었습니까? Wow, 20 live shows. Wow, he appeared on 20 live shows. That's great. He became like a superstar. And these days, Korean people know him a lot. Lots of Korean people. He's popular among Koreans too. 한국 사람들 사이에서도 굉장히 유명해요. 여러분 혹시 모르셨다면 오늘 한번 알아보시고 이제 한번 채널 돌리다 보면은 아마 그 올리버 쇼가 나올 수도 있을 것 같아요. 오케이? 한국 사람들도 많이 알고 있더라고요. Alright, so 20 live shows. 20 is a large number, right? So you can say a large number of live shows, right? 이게 바로 이렇게 listening에 들려진 것이 되겠죠? So a large number of. A large number of 20 is a lot. 아주 많은 거잖아요, right? A large number of. Repeat after me. A large number of. A large number of. A large number of live shows. So he appeared on large number of shows. 쇼에 굉장히 많이 출연을 했다라는 그런 표현이죠. 그것도 라이브로요. And because it's hectic, just look at this, 5 TV series, several books, and 20 live shows. And he must have been very, very hectic, right? He's been very hectic. hectic이 뭐죠? 굉장히 바빠온 거죠. 그래서 지금까지도 바쁠 거예요, 아마. 그죠? 이런 것도 해오고 지금도 이제 바쁘게 지내오겠죠. 근데 과거에 했었던 걸 보면은 굉장히 바쁠 겁니다. 자, 그러니까 뭐라고요? Not many free days. Not many free days. When it comes to days, it's a kind of a noun. So, many was used to modify days. days를 수식하기 위해서 many가 쓰였습니다. 하지만 우리가 이것을요, 자유시간, 자유롭게 보낼 수 있는 시간, time의 개념으로 바꾸면 어떻게 될까요? 이게 바로 reading passage에 나온 부분입니다. You can change that into not free time. So time is a quantity concept now, right? So you cannot actually count time, right? Of course, you can count hours and minutes and seconds. But when it comes to time, you cannot count. So not much free time. You have to use much to modify time here. Okay? Okay. Not that difficult. And the next one is, okay. In cooking schools, how many years did he spend? To be exact, he spent 2 years, right? He spent, not 2 days, 2 years. Uh-oh. So he spent 2 years in cooking schools, learning different kinds of recipes, right? And here you can express it like, how can you express the 2 years? Well, in the listening text says는요, 2 years, a couple of years, 1 or 2, a couple of. So a couple of years was used. So let me write it here. 여기 좀 깨끗하게 지우고 써드릴게요. So a couple. You know couple. couple이다 하면은 둘이잖아요, 둘. 그죠? 1 or 2, a couple of years. Okay? And next, a few famous chefs. So he worked in London. 런던에서 일했는데 he worked under how many famous chefs? How many? A few. A few can be like 2 or 3, right? 2, 3, 뭐 이 정도의 그 number이 a few가 되겠는데요. Okay, so how many chefs were there? How many famous chefs were there in London to help him out? Over him, right? There were 3. There were 3. 우리 그 reading passage 읽었죠? So 3 chefs. 3 famous chefs. Okay? And he was spotted by this TV producer. TV producer에 의해서 딱 발탁이 됐어요. Jamie Oliver. Okay, why don't you work with me? 뭐 이렇게 얘기했겠죠. 그죠? I'm a producer of such and such a production or a broadcasting company. Why don't you work with me? I'm gonna make this great show, featuring cooking recipes. 이렇게 얘기했을 거예요. 자, 그래서 okay 라고 했을 때 그 당시에 he had little experience. 거의 경험이 없었다 그랬어요. So very little experience he had when he was spotted by this producer. Well, little experience, of course, experience, you cannot count. 나 경험 3개 했거든. You never say that, right? So experience, you cannot count. Experience is an uncountable noun. Okay? So very little experience can be expressed in another way and actually was used in the listening passage에 뭐라고 썼죠? Listening passage에 very little experience as he hardly had any. hardly any는 거의 없었다. hardly is a negative expression. negative하게 거의 he hardly had any experience when he was spotted by this producer, right? So hardly any. And but what's important is passion and enthusiasm. The reason why Jamie Oliver is successful is not because he's handsome, or it's not because he's fashionable. Look at his socks. 그림에 여기 보세요. 그 fashionable하지 않잖아요, 하나도. 그 위에는 뭐 그렇다 치고 양말 보세요. 양말에 blue socks를 신었어요. 하얀색에다 검은색 패턴인데 말이죠. 패션감가 꽝해요. But what made him make it big? 그가 이렇게 성공할 수 있었다. Make it big은 being very successful. So what made he successful? What made him successful? 그를 성공적으로 만든 것은 his zeal and passion and enthusiasm. These words are actually all related. 여기다가 써볼까요? 여기다가, okay. Zeal, 열정입니다. And passion, fashion이 아니고요. And enthusiasm. Enthusiasm. Okay? Enthusiasm. Okay? So enthusiasm. He had lots of enthusiasm. So 이런 여러 가지 열정이라든가 뭐 passion 이게 있어야 돼요. Zeal, passion, and enthusiasm 이런 것들이 있는 사람 성공하죠. So experience is not, as much important as zeal and passion and enthusiasm. Okay, so you have to remember these 3 words and write them down and read them aloud every day. And then I think you can be as successful as Jamie Oliver. I can promise you that, really. Okay? 지금 where were we? 어디 하고 있었죠? Enthusiasm 얘기를 하다가 a lot of enthusiasm. Okay, in the reading passage, they use a lot of enthusiasm, a great deal of enthusiasm, a great deal. 굉장히 많았어요. A great deal of. Okay, repeat after me. A great deal of enthusiasm, a great deal of passion, a great deal of zeal. This is what he had. Okay, and he used plenty of fresh ingredients. Plenty of는 많은 거니까요. Lots of fresh ingredients. Okay, you can write in the same way. So lots of fresh ingredients. Didn't have any interest. 근데요, 원래 audience가요, 원래 쿠킹에 관심 있던 사람이 아니라, well, those people who are not interested in cooking at all, and they showed no interest in cooking shows, but they got to have this interest in Jamie Oliver and his stories and the recipes and cooking and all this stuff, right? So he's quite successful, isn't it? He's very influential, in other words, right? So Plant here didn't have any interest. 조금도 관심 없었어요. It is no interest in the reading passage. Okay? So see? All of these expressions of quantity can be used all together, right? So reading하고 listening에 쓰여졌던 것들이 어떤 건 약간 좀 vague, 약간 좀 정확하지 않고 좀 명료하지 않은 그런 표현도 있지만 같이 interchangeably 쓰여질 수 있는 이런 표현들이 어떤 것이 있는지 여러분 보시고요. 여러분의 daily conversation에 응용하시면 좋을 것 같습니다. 오케이, 오늘은 제이미 올리버 이야기를 들으니까요. 그리고 이렇게 읽어보니까요. 저도요, 힘이 불끈불끈 솟는 게 zeal and passion and enthusiasm 이런 것들 좀 가져야 되겠다고 생각을 합니다. 그러면 a little bit of luck, 약간의 그 행운이 왔을 때, 행운의 기회가 주어졌을 때 make it big! 할 수 있을 것 같아요. Don't you think so? I think you have to agree. Okay? I'll be back next time. Thank you.